What's up, everybody? How are you?
Right. Happy. Let me turn off my volume here. All right, and we were actually live. Good, verified. So, how you doing, Mr. Salama?
Doing good. Doing good.
Yeah, I was just remarking to him just before we went live that there's some fun going on in the background. He says you got summer camps going already.
Yes. Launched yesterday and rock and rolling with the kids.
Nice. So that's actually a perfect lead-in to today's discussion. So we teach our kids as martial artists, kids, adults. We teach our students. That's a better way to put it. That there are lessons to be found in hardship, whether it's sitting there in horse stance for hours and hours and hours, or trying something new and learning how to be resilient until you can actually make something happen. There's a lesson in that hardship that at future times in our lives, we can use that experience to recognize how we can be successful in a different venue. And I think that we can look at 2020 and that little thing that happened during 2020 and use that as our hardship lessons. Those of us that are still here to watch this video, still surviving, hopefully thriving. We've been through some tough times this past year, and we're back to somewhat normal. And I think one of the normal things that happens is that summer slide idea where, all of a sudden everybody wants to go on vacation for 4 months and they will never be near the school to take a class. They want to go on hold. They quit. They want to be at the beach, whatever it is. So it becomes a hardship for the business itself. So today we want to talk about how we're using some of the things we learned during 2020 to help us be successful during summer 2021. So John, like you said, you got summer camps cranking. I know this was a big unknown this year because we were unsure. Would it be, all right, everybody's ready to come back to summer camps, or would it be, well, now everybody's used to not having anything to do or spending family time, or they're still working from home? So what's the landscape looking like so far? Because we lag a few weeks behind you up in the north here.
So I guess few things that everything that we're going to talk about today, just keep in mind, guys, it's different from demographics from area to area, depending on where you live and what's happening. For our area, it's kind of like there is a huge, up and down cycle it's just hard to predict of what's happening, right? For us this year, we decided to do summer camp on a smaller scale. So with our space, we can easily accommodate 60 to 70 students, right? We were like, okay, we're going to play it safe. We still have a lot of parents in the area let me rephrase that. A lot of people in the area who are still very skeptical, very, let's stay home, let's still keep the mask on and all that good stuff, whether they're been vaccinated or not. So we decided to keep our summer camp numbers to, about 20 for sure people per week, maximizing at 25 for those that want to do week to week here and there and stuff like that, because we did not want to, scare people off. Now, having said that, 10 miles down the street from us, people cannot find camp spaces. You know what I mean? Where we are, we still have a lot of parents that work from home, or one of the parents is able to work from the house. So it seems like a lot of people are still on save money, let's not do too many activities, or, let's do big vacations, right? So we've got a family here that's going on a 3-week vacation. And they're doing it together as a family. So in order for them to do it together as a family, 3 weeks away from work, away from everything, well, they're not going to do summer camp because they're spending all their money on, vacation, right? Yet you've got parents who want to do the week to week because, they're still at home, but they want to give the kids an option to get out and do some stuff. So we're sitting at 19 kids this week, and it's different from week to week, of course, throughout the summer. So, but again, we wanted to be careful. We wanted to be, we did not want to be like the other camps last year. We had a ton of camps last year where they just simply closed and quarantined multiple times. This year,
that caution is kind of the lesson there, though, right? Like, I guess it's don't put all your eggs in one basket, to be cliche about it, but it's also like being aware of people's sensitivities and needs, and being in business, but also addressing that.
Of course. And again, we're not a low-cost summer camp or low-cost, martial art place. There's, literally 2 miles down the street, another place that's doing a summer camp for $99 a week. However, if you want to do early drop-off, you're going to do this. If you want to do, late pickup, you're going to pay for that. If you want to do field trips, you're going to pay for that. So it becomes like an a la carte kind of concept, right? But we did not want to do that. We did not want to drop our prices, of course, because again, if we drop our prices, we're going to fill up our numbers. But then what? I'm going to have more, team players. I'm going to have more things at the end of the day. I'm maybe making $5,000-6,000 a week, right? But I'm also paying out $3,000-4,000 in payroll.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what? Like that security is worth something to parents. The security of what your cleanliness protocols, your sanitation protocols, assuaging those fears of, well, I'm still not comfortable being in a crowd. That comes with a cost. Anytime somebody has a concern that you have to address, that comes with a price tag.
Yes.
And that's why, like, as child development centers, we address more than teach my kids self-defense. Teaching your kids self-defense has a certain cost. Teaching your child how to have the physical, intellectual, emotional, and social tools to never need self-defense, well, that has a higher cost, which is why Skillz schools tend to be the more costly option within their towns. And same thing, I would assume, with that summer camp is if you're not doing 75 kids or however many kids you could do, you have to charge a little more, probably not like tremendously more, because you don't have to have as many staff if you're not doing 60-70 kids, but you still have to charge more to make sure that overhead is met, to take care of your people, to make it worth it as a business. If you're just breaking even on something, is it worth the effort? Sometimes yes, because we can also look at things like summer camps as enrollment machines later on. So maybe there is a benefit, but if you don't have that plan in place, these are decisions you have to make, and every decision costs something. So yeah, I mean, that ability to just look at people's needs, I think it's almost an enforced empathy that we had to learn during the pandemic that I think is going to benefit a lot of us.
And, again, for us, it wasn't so much as, so again, you've known how Jennifer and I operate, when it comes to things. Summer for us was one of those time frames that we had. It was the opportunity to create the savings for the school. You know what I mean? Because, with the after school program and all that stuff, comes November time, it's not like a full month, right? Comes, December time, it's not a full month, but it also allowed us to have that extra savings for, our business, right? Well, we knew last year wasn't going to happen. And it was, we could have done it this year where, maybe we would have been able to do some sort of savings, right? But then what? Like, did we want to have issues where we would quarantine? You know what I mean? And not like it's not like the virus is like spreading right now or anything. Like, it's been tamed big time, right? But what are the chances?
That's another lesson that I think a lot of people learned the hard way, was not having any savings. You mentioned building up savings. A lot of schools closed, not even because the pandemic affected them so horribly in the moment. It's because they had nothing to draw on.
Yeah.
And I'll say honestly, like, that tended to be me up until probably about 8 months before the pandemic, because I was always like in growth mode, reinvest. So like Tim mentioned, let me pop that back up. Tim mentioned talking about net versus gross, and that is a very important discussion. But I think up until the pandemic, my net would have been pretty close to zero.
Yep.
because every bit of money I made, it wasn't that I was taking a loss or my business wasn't surviving. It's that I constantly reinvested to growth. So there was never a cushion.
Yep.
And we got to a certain point where it was like, all right, I'm kind of happy with where we are. I started paying down debt. I started putting money. I got to give a shout out to Paul Halmy, because he sent me a random email one day. And he says, hey, I got this course. I want you to take it for free. I don't know how I ended up on his mailing list, but it was just one of those things that it's like, let me show you how to save $1,000. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I could use $1,000 in the bank. Who couldn't? And it was just a 30-day course where he, every day he sent an email, and it was like, do this one thing, take that dollar and set up an automatic deposit to your bank account for $1 every day. Good. The next thing is this. You're going to go through all this stuff, and you're going to find what you don't need any, like those subscriptions we've talked about in the past. Cancel that $10 subscription. Now increase that $1 deposit every day to $1.10 every day. And it was just like kept building it. So by the time the pandemic hit, we had savings, and if it wasn't for that random email, I don't know if it would have, I always knew you had to have savings, but I was so focused on growth that I don't think without that email, I would have been the right time, right place, So the one thing we learned was you gotta have cushion. It's one of those things that all business coaches talk about. They tell you that you should have it before you open your business. And we all go, great, as soon as I'm making profit, I'll start saving. Just like, and now that I say that out loud, that's like, oh, I got to get in shape so I can come to the gym. So now, when we look at our business year, and I have to do my projections, one of the things that I do is I no longer project my student value per month, right? We used to say, well, I need this many students per month. And I don't like counting students as a unit of measure, but it's a pretty simple metric of, I know about what my student value is at any given time, so I can make some simple projections. But now what we do is we do their annualized value, annualized student value, but then divide it by 10. So when I budget what my investments should return me, what my student should return me, what my expenses might be, I'm paying for my 12-month year based on 10 months of income. So that tells me that I need to be charging in 10 months enough to cover 12. So when things like, I want to go on vacation for 3 months. And John, I think you mentioned last year, I think I'm remembering correctly, that you have a lot of people that tend to go away out of the country for long periods of time. Yeah, like doctors go to see their families or whatever. So now when those students take off for a month or 2 months, I've already made the money I needed to make for a year off of 10 months. So when they take off 2 months, I already budgeted for that, and now for those people that don't take that 2 months, well, this is where a lot of the profit comes in, that money that maybe I used to look at from testings, because I don't charge for testings anymore, but it was nice having that hit of money. Well, now that hit of money comes because I'm charging people for that 2 extra months. And at first I felt like, oh, but I'm charging people for time and basing it on people that won't come. But really, this is what it costs to run the business. It's just numbers. There's no emotion to it. And when you start looking at building cushion, building savings, building in a fee schedule that actually pays for your business, so you don't have to worry about those 2 months as much, that was a big lesson we took out of the very beginning of the pandemic. It was one of the things that kept us alive during 2020, and it's going to keep us floating right through the summer of 2021. Even if, and I say if because it's not guaranteed, even if we have some summer slide. So we have one, John mentioned, being very empathetic to the needs of your customers and adapting and charging appropriately. I talked about building cushion, making sure that you have that money in the bank before you need it, or at least a process to get that money. I think one other lesson, a third lesson that we learned last year was, and something that Melody tells us all the time, relentless offense. John and I didn't survive just because of our good looks. I mean, that was a big part of it. But but it was, nothing stops us. You can't beat a guy who won't quit, who won't admit defeat. And John and I, we chatted regularly about, here's our ideas. What do you think? Let's try this. Here's my results. And, there was that social network that we had to keep ourselves sane-ish. But it was relentless offense. So knowing that Summer Slide is probably coming, that offense mindset is going to be so important. And maybe you thought you had it in the past, but I think you've honed it over the past year. So like, John, let's say you projected, I'm going to do a hypothetical on you. Let's say that you caught word through the grapevine that 10% of your students were about to take off for the entire summer. Not what every business owner wants to hear. Sure. What types of things do you do to go on offense to replace that revenue?
So for us, something that we do every single summer, because we know there's a lot of people out there who, they want to come in, they want to try it, they're not sure, but they want their kids to do something for the summer. They don't want to quite do the summer camp, and there is a lot of things around here. We like to do the $199 summer special. It's 10 weeks.
Wait a minute. We don't do sales and specials and deals and
we
don't
do
a summer special.
We don't. It's simply so they come in and they do a down payment for us, right? So what we do is we simply do it as a down payment, $199, but they don't have to make their first month payment until 10 weeks down the road. We're not on a contract base, so if it's not their cup of tea and they don't want to do it, they can cancel anytime, right? Mm-hmm. They just don't get that $199 back. So say we enroll 10 people, right? And, we get that $199 up front right away, and out of those 10 people, 5 to 7 people sign up because, they have the intentions to sign up. They don't have other activities. They don't have football. They don't have soccer. They don't have basketball. They're not on a travel team. So why not? I mean, there is always a special out there. Amazon always does a special. Mm-hmm. Look at what Apple did last year, and with their phones, $700 to $800 off the phone. And if you trade in a phone, like, why not? Is it an ongoing thing? No, it's not. Is it?
There's the key.
Once a year, drop something huge. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm a big proponent of bringing people in, evaluating them, and if we're a good fit, signing them up. I don't like trial programs. I don't like wheeling and dealing. It's just not in my nature. And it works for me. It might not work for everybody, but it works for me to just sign them up. However, I am not opposed to specials the way specials are supposed to be, which is it's special. It's not my all year long, come in and get all of my stuff for free. It's special. And this is a really good time of year to do something where I use specials in the sense of it's special for me because, hey, I need some special income right now. This is a quick way to pump some income in. Same thing with like Black Friday deals. I do ridiculous deals on Black Friday. And yes, it sacrifices a certain amount of long-term income temporarily, but it gets me the money I need to get through a certain time of year when a lot of people take off or don't necessarily start some things. So I think this is, like John said, a great time to be running those summer specials. And when we talk about that, I think you also have to talk about the marketing aspect. Like, I know the slow times are coming, which means the income is maybe dropping in your business a little bit already, especially if you're like on that the schedule like John is, where he's already in summer camp phase. We still have another month and a half or so before we have to worry about that. But even though your income is dropping, your expenses for marketing, your monetary expense, but also your time expense should be increasing. This is where you go on offense. You wheel and deal a little bit, even if it's not in your nature, and you pump out that marketing hardcore because you need to be even more attractive in the times when people are looking at other things. So I think that that's something that we learned last year too, or reinforced anyway, was sometimes you got to do what it takes, and sometimes you got to be even more attractive than. So now, last year we had to be more attractive than people's fear. This year we have to be more attractive than people's fear and people's other activities, which means you got to double down on double downing.
Yeah.
Doubling down. You got to double down on doubling down. So that's something.
Here's something else, you guys, we can look at it. If you're losing 10 members for a month or say 2 months, right? Ultimately speaking, right? Just say for, math sake, right? $3,000 within the 2 months, right? If you do the summer special and you get 10 people in the door, that's $2,000. I will take an extra $2,000, or in this situation, you've kind of lost $1,000 instead of $3,000. Like, just look at things differently. Don't go, oh, I don't do special, so I'm not going to run a special. No, it's a special for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And if you know you're going to lose 3, and your goal is to possibly break even with those 3, so why not, put it out there for, 30 members, and maybe it's 5 people per age group class, or 10 people per age group class. Just regain your losses.
Yeah, and that's like, we always focus on making more money, but it's the second rule of business is cut your losses. First rule is make more money, increase your profits, but the second is cut your losses. So if I have an opportunity to make $2,000, I can't look at it as, well, I would have made $3,000 if somebody signed up. If they were signing up, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So you got to look at it as, well, I could have lost $3,000. Now I'm only losing $1,000 below where. So now when I dip into my savings, going back to that lesson, now I'm only taking out a little bit, and it'll last much longer. And like for us, we usually run that special. So I'll probably kick up my special in about 2 weeks, which gives us about 3 to 4 weeks before people start thinking about like summer and school is really over. I think school ends for us on the 25th, something like that.
Of June?
Yeah. We're about a month behind you guys.
Yeah.
So for us, like right now, kids are focused on those graduation parties, or the older kids are focused on state testing, which there's a lot of controversy behind that. So I don't want to be embroiled in that right now. But probably in a couple of weeks, I'll just start teasing those summer specials, and then I'll hit it hardcore up until about the beginning of July. And then after that, it stops making as much sense. And hopefully I will have filled those 10 or 12 spots. And now, essentially, it's not even a loss. It's what happened. I look at it this way. I didn't take a loss of the $1,000. I got people to pay me $2,000 to market to them for the rest of the summer. Whereas I normally have to pay hundreds of dollars to earn a student. Now they paid me for the privilege of marketing to them, and very close marketing, because now they're in my building. Man, I had a really good thought and I forgot it. I'm getting old, man. I don't know what's happening. That's happening more and more lately.
Wow.
All right, I'll just go to the next slot, which I do remember. So, I think another thing, people tend to think of summer as a time of relaxation, time of freedom. So a lot of, and they've been trained that way since they were like 4. As soon as you get to school, when you turn 4 years old, 5 years old, the day 1 of school, you start counting down to summer vacation where you don't have to do anything. So we've been trained that way for most of our lives. So when people say, well, I want to take the summer off, I think it's not that they don't like us. It's just that, hey, I perceive this as a time of freedom, and I want the freedom to be able to do things. The same reason people ask about unlimited classes. They don't really want to come to unlimited classes. They want the freedom to be able to come when they choose.
Yep.
So I think one of the things we learned last year was that we can reach students in lots of ways. Even if it's not a paid relationship, staying in contact with students who are on break means that at the end of the summer, they are more likely to return. We all cringe when somebody says, "Oh, I think we're just going to take a break for a month." And we know that most people who take a break really mean, "I'm quitting, and I just don't want to say I'm quitting." All the things that we learned last year, being able to be available on Zoom. Oh, I understand you're taking the summer off, but we would love for you to pop into one of our Zoom classes, even if it's just to say hi and hold the phone and show us the beach that you're standing at. All the kids would love to see that. If it's, all right, maybe you are legitimately going to visit family in India for a month. If they have internet there, stop in. We'll be able to do those classes.
Yeah, show us
Sending
the
those,
Taj.
yes, man, that is on my bucket list. I would love to go to India. All the little things that we did, sending video messages, or showing up at people's soccer games on Zoom. Like I used to go to people's houses and I would jump into the Zoom class, back when we were fully online. And I would jump into the Zoom class and walk up to somebody's door, and the kids would go crazy because they recognize, "Oh, that's my house. You're at my house." And I would knock on the door and give them a high five or a belt or whatever it was. We learned all these ways to connect with students when they're not in our building. Keep those up. It doesn't mean you have to do Zoom classes. We just stopped our Zoom classes fully and completely unless somebody requests it or they're quarantined or whatever. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to use all those techniques to reach out, keep in touch, and make sure they know that even though you're taking the summer off, you're still part of my family. And I want to see you and hear all about your adventures when you come back at the end of August. You got to keep those connections going. And that's what we learned last year, was how to stay connected when we can't be connected.
Yes, very important.
All right. So we're coming up on time here. So let's go in. Do you have any final recommendations to help people stay on offense, to stay positive as we go through this? I know it can be emotionally trying when you get call after call after call of people. You hear the phone ring, you used to get excited because it was a student, and now it's a student going on hold.
Yeah, one, don't take it personal. It's not you. What I mean?
That's
I get it. It's money. You got to make money to pay rent, to get paid, to pay your team, all that stuff. Don't take it personal. The minute you take it personal, that's when things starts falling apart. And trust me, I say that from experience. Okay. Number two is, again, put a special out there. If you don't want to do the summer special 10 weeks for $199, do something that's like super dope. But make it mindless. You know what I mean? So you can go on the very cheap side and make it mindless, or make it a little bit more like the 10 weeks for $199 and make it mindless. Okay. Somebody comes in the door and they want to do the summer special for, say, the $199, but they can't afford it to do it all at once. Don't turn them away. Don't tell them, "Oh, you pay it all or you pay nothing." Again, find ways to help them. You don't know where they are financially. Last year has done such a huge, when I say impact, it has impacted us not in a positive way, right? And people are coming out of this with so many issues going on, right? But maybe they want to provide for their kids. Maybe they want to do something. So break it up for them. Pay $99 today and maybe another $99 in 2 weeks. Don't break it into whatever payments, right?
99 payments of $1.
I mean, yeah, no, don't do that. You want to be extra with it, fine. You know what? How about if you pay it weekly?
And I think that's great too, because like I said, they're paying me to market to them. So normally if somebody comes in and says, "Well, I just can't afford it," okay, give me a call when your budget changes. I think with stuff like this, especially because it's a time when I need something, I'm a little more willing to wheel and deal like that.
Yep.
But it's also now an opportunity to show them value, not to tell them about all the value, but for them to be in it, touch it, smell it, taste it, be immersed. People's perceptions of what they can afford change when they see that you can fill their need. So this is an opportunity to do that. So
Yes.
in a sense of a summer special, I would not necessarily turn somebody away unless, like, look, if you're jamming and you don't need that student, well, that's a different conversation, you know? And I do want to reiterate, John said, don't take it personally. Many of us started these businesses because it's what we love and it's what we do. And we started small and we had those really close relationships with students, and our business was a reflection of us. And when somebody quits, that makes it feel like, well, I wasn't valuable enough. It has nothing to do with us most of the time. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it has nothing to do with us. It's just a business decision on their part. The same way I might cancel a contract with a vendor because it doesn't serve my needs enough, or, you know, maybe it's just not what they need at the time. It's not you. And it doesn't even mean they're a former student, because unless they leave on bad terms, once you touch a student's life, they're your student forever. Something you told them goes with them forever. So maybe they're just, we call them our itinerant students. You know, they're not training with us right now. They're not paying us right now. But you never know when they'll come back, or they'll bring their kids back, or their grandkids back. You know, so have that positive mindset. Stay on offense. Don't take it personally. And if you come across something that's working for you, share it with the group. You know, if you're a Skillz member, share it in the Skillz groups. If you need help, you got an idea that just can't quite get it out or figure out how to make it work, chat with John or I, and we'll be happy to get you there.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Salama. I hear lots of fun going around in the back. I know you want to go jump in and play with the kids.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, we got our team coming in for training in a little bit. So thank you for your time. Guys, I wish you an awesome summer. Nothing left to do. Go get it.
Peace out, everybody.